This episode is brought to you by Lindo's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else? Now, let's get up close with some of Bermuda's most talented athletes. Find out what it takes to compete at the highest levels. Understand the sacrifices they make for their sport and their country. Experience their victories and their defeats here on Up Close.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Up Close with yours truly, Colin Thompson. Today, it's going to be full throttle with one of our karting extraordinaires, none other than Scott Skitchy Barnes. Get that right, Skitchy Barnes. Yes, Scott, welcome to the show. It's nice to have you. I know it's been a while. You've been waiting to get on the show, and I know you're a busy man. You're overseas. You got this commitment, that commitment, but here we are. We finally got it. You've arrived.
Better late than never.
And what a great timing it is, because you've just come off some success. And before I get you to spill out your life story and your journey in the sport, I just want to, let's just bring us up to date with your latest success, in the sport.
So latest race was just over a month ago in Rock Island, Illinois, for a street race that I do every year. Probably one of the funnest races that I look forward to every year. They shut down the whole town in Rock Island, Illinois, and we race on the streets, man. I've been doing it since '01, so I think I missed 1 year. So something that's always on the calendar, always look forward to this race, and was pretty successful this year. We picked up 4 finals wins, which is pretty cool. Brought my total up to 14 for the event, second all time, or tied for third all time. Pretty cool, and looking forward to getting to Vegas for the biggest race of the year here in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
Yep.
Wow.
November 16th weekend. It's always the Super Bowl of karting in the U.S. Over 40 countries represented every year. Look forward to getting back to that.
All right, so what's the atmosphere like? You said the closest city down. I mean, it's big turnout, big crowds.
Yeah, it's street racing. Street racing is always my favorite racing. They get over 1,000 spectators that line the track, and up close and personal. You're 5 feet away from the fans, and it's always a different track because on the streets the bumps are always different. The barriers are getting moved every lap. So I love street racing. We've done street racing in Bermuda over the years, and it's always my favorite time. Always favorite type of racing. Just the excitement of it, and just the different than being on a normal go-kart track is what I look forward to.
And what class are you racing?
For that, I did 206s. I did, I raced like 8 classes that weekend. I did 5 or 6 206 races and 2 shifter races.
Okay.
So we
won
both shifters, and we won 2 206 races.
Okay, so what's the difference?
So 206 is
breakdown.
206s is basically a 4-stroke stock, kind of like a lawnmower engine, slower class. Everyone's on the same package, same engines, slower class. So, you got to be more finesse, more smooth on the track. One mistake, you can lose, 5, 6 spots just like that because you don't have the power to back up a mistake, right? Whereas a shifter kart, you got 6 gears, you got the power. You make a mistake coming out of a corner, you can just, gear down and power out of the corner, kind of fix your mistake. 206 you got to be a lot smoother. So 2 totally different driving styles. It's always hard to jump out of one and straight into another one because you're driving, different lines, different braking points, different throttle points. So it's always a challenge to run both on the same weekend, but something I makes you a better driver, I think.
You said the first kart, the first class you explained. You said it's sort of like a mud machine.
Pretty much.
You got me thinking of what's it, Briggs and Stratton?
That's what it is. A Briggs and Stratton 4-stroke pull start. Basically a lawnmower, but you get 20, 30 karts together, and it makes for fun racing. Everyone's pretty equal, so it's all about kart setup and driving. It doesn't come down to who has the best motor, who spent the most money on the motor, because everyone's pretty much on the same motor, which is what I like.
How much did your experience at this event? You've been doing this event for a number of years now. Did that experience pay off?
Definitely, I think so. I go there every year, kind of with confidence, knowing that, like I said, the track's always different because year to year the concrete's different. This year they actually repaved half the track, so half the track was a lot smoother, which is something that is nice on the body. But no, going there with confidence, knowing that you know how to win there, you know the track. Something I think confidence in racing to me is always, I think, key. Any type of racing, once you have the confidence in any sport, I think it pays off. And, you know, knowing that you have the experience, and I think it's just a key factor to help with racing.
So is it just you, or do you have a team, you know, pit crew?
This year, for this race, my team wasn't there. So I kind of traveled with just me and my mechanic. Actually, I had 3 mechanics that weekend because I had 3 different carts running so many classes. And I was under another tent, another team that I associate with. But my main shifter kart team wasn't there. Well, they'll be in Vegas, and they were there throughout the other races this year. But this is kind of a race I kind of do by myself without the team. They sent me my cart, they sent me my parts, and I hire mechanics and help me out with the tuning because there's so many classes. But yeah, this one's different than all the other races I do in the States.
And this event is what? Out of the weekend, 2 days?
Yeah, this is a quick one. It's only 2 days. You're only on track Saturday and Sunday, so not a lot of practice. I think you get 2 quick practice sessions on Saturday, 1 quick qualifying, and then a heat race on Saturday, and straight into the finals on Sunday. 1 practice warm-up on Sunday morning, and then straight into the finals on Sunday. So not a lot of seat time. You got to kind of be on your A game from the start. Your cart's kind of got to be ready from the start, and a little bit different than a normal racing weekend where it's more seat time.
So how big is the field?
This year, I think the biggest fields this year were like 18 carts down to the shifter class was like 7. So not huge crowds with this event. So looking forward to Vegas here in 2 weeks. We'll be up to like, I think there's 54 in the Masters class. So that's a stacked field from, you know, all around the world. So every event's different. You know, the average class for my shifter kart racing throughout the year this year was probably 15 to 20. So it just depends on the event and what race you're going to.
So you say when you're qualifying for track positions, or, you know, on the starting grid, or just to get into the main event, you know, is there a cutoff? Only so many can actually race?
I'm an older guy now, so I'm kind of racing what was called the Masters class, which is, you know, 30.
What you call old? You look young to me. What do you call old?
I'm 40, but Masters is 30 and over. So I've been, you know, doing the Masters here.
Getting the prime of your life, man.
I feel good, but when you're racing against little 18-year-olds, that's not so much.
Okay,
right?
I understood.
Especially in racing years, you know, there's a big difference between 18 and 40. So, no, the Masters class has been solid the last few years, but no, qualifying will set you, you know, like I said, for starting positions, but when you have a big race like coming up in Vegas, qualifying is everything. You know, if you're outside the top 10, top 12, it's going to hurt you for the heat races, right? So you need to, qualifying is a very big on-track time. So it's very important.
I was just wondering, you know, say for example, 40 teams show up, but only 20 can make it on the starting grid. Is there a cutoff?
Yeah, definitely. In most classes, like the junior classes, the pro classes, here for Vegas, for an example, they'll sign up 80, and only I think like 42 will qualify. So come Sunday, you know, half the teams are packing up. It all depends on the event that you show up to, but for the most part, in the Masters class, everyone's been making the cut. There hasn't been any cutoffs.
Is there pressure on you going to these events?
I mean, no, where I'm at now in my racing career, there's no pressure. I've kind of done pretty much everything I want to do in karting, locally and internationally. So to me, it's just about having fun. And like I said earlier, man, the more you're having fun, the more confidence you bring into each weekend, I think the better off you're going to do.
You mentioned your team sent the cart, and the cart kind of preempted the question I had. I was lining it up. I was going to ask you, you know, is your equipment over there? Do you have cars already in the States, wherever you're racing around the world?
Yeah, so the last 2 years, I've been lucky enough to be picked up by a team out there, and they've kind of provided me with carts and motors for the last 2 years, which is nice. You know, it took me long enough to get that, but it's finally done. So yeah, I have a team out there that's based in Vermont, Maranello. Shout out to Maranello, USA, Carburetor Racing Motors. Yeah, they provide my cart for me and my engines, and you know, I kind of just show up and race, which is awesome. But for that Rock Island race that we were talking about, obviously with them not going, they boxed up my cart and sent it to me, and then, you know, I put it together Friday with my mechanics and sent it back to them.
Is it expensive, this sport, competing?
Yeah, I mean, any motorsport's expensive. Shout out to my sponsors, Maranello Kart USA and Carlos Racings, for allowing me to race with their team the last 2 years. Financially, it's been a huge help. Couldn't do it without them. And then, Butterfield and Vallis here locally, and All Rise Limited, helping me throughout the last couple of years. Sponsors is key, man. Like I said, motorsports is expensive, so having the sponsors definitely helps.
And as far as, you've mentioned your recent success in Illinois, where does that rank on your all-time list of achievements?
So like I've been doing that race since '01, missed 1 year. To be second or third all time in most wins there is pretty cool. It's always exciting when you can, be in the top 3 or top of any motorsport in the US. But for me, like, my racing in the US, I've been doing it since '01. So, 20 years. Yeah, 20, I make myself sound old now. Yeah, I've been
You can swap with me here. I'll take 40.
Been racing in the US for 20 nonstop years now, and the main goal is when I started, was to try to make a name for myself, and I think over the years I've done that. When I go out to these races, people know who I am, they know the name. So that's something that I'm proud of. I'm not just a racer from Bermuda. They know the name. They got put some respect on it. So I've done what I wanted to do, and now it's just all extra going forward.
I'm actually here smiling because all the Bermuda teams and all the athletes when they're representing Bermuda now, they're wearing pink. So I'm like, do you
pink for me.
Do you have a pink kit as
That's
well?
one color you'll never catch me on pink.
You look pretty in pink.
No. Orange, the racing color.
All right.
Now with the new team, Maranello USA, the last 2 years, it's been red. Red wasn't a favorite color of mine, but hey, if they're gonna give me a kart and motor, I'll gladly represent it. But I think it would take a lot to get me to wear pink.
No, but on a serious note, you feel proud, to represent, to fly the flag on the international stage.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Anytime, a racer from a small island like Bermuda can go out on the international stage and represent and be in the top level, it's always a proud moment. I always fly my flag out there, proud of where I come from and where I started. So yeah, always representing Bermuda, and whenever I get on the podium out there, it's kind of cool to look at and know that Bermuda racers can go out there and compete at the top level. Guys in the powerboats have been doing great the last couple of years representing, and motorsports in general. We have a lot of fast, talented drivers and riders and motorsports people here in Bermuda. So it's always cool to see, Bermuda racers go out overseas and represent.
And one of those powerboat teams were pink. Their boat is pink,
Yes,
hot pink.
I love the style of the boat, but sorry, just pink's not my color. I think it would look much better if it was all orange.
But one thing we can ascertain, you're definitely not a flats fan. For Eastern Continents, you're not for flats, that's for sure. So how do you keep yourself in condition? Obviously, you're not out there all the time competing, but when you're back home, how do you keep yourself in shape? Do you get any time in the seat?
Not a lot of seat time between races, which I'm fortunate. But staying in the gym, going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, and then I got two husky dogs, so walking them 2 or 3 times a day, just staying fit. Like you said, trying to eat healthy and stay. Being fit and then being kart fit is 2 totally different things. So seat time obviously helps. Whenever I can get it, I'll take it. But when I can't get it, just trying to stay as fit as possible. And then when I get to the race weekend, and just getting as much seat time as you can.
You got to stay fit because you don't overcome those bumps and bruises like your 18-year-old rivals.
Once you turn 40, man, it's a whole other level. It's a lot harder.
So the younger guys, what they say to you when they see you, they call you pops.
No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I still feel like I'm 25. I still feel like I'm a 25-year-old racer, but it's a little bit harder. It definitely slows down a little bit as the older you get. Especially, I still feel like I'm racing some of the prime racing of my career, but everything definitely slows down a little bit once you hit 40.
Has this always been a dream of yours to compete, overseas?
Definitely. Like I said, I started racing overseas when I was, I believe, 16 or 17 was my first race in the States. And I haven't stopped. It's something I fell in love with. Karting's always been my passion. Started racing when I was 11 here locally. And yeah, just like I said, when I started racing out there in the States, it was kind of, all right, this is cool. We'll see how far we can go, see if we can get in the top. And then once you win a race, all right, we want to win another one, and then you want to win another one. And then you want to win a championship, and then you win a championship, you want to win another one. And now, every win you get, you celebrate a little bit more because you never know when the next one's going to come. But you still want the next one. I always say when I get a new trophy, it's my favorite trophy until the next one. So still got the hunger to keep going. Definitely something I still want to be doing for years to come. But yeah, it's been a good career.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
Definitely not over.
So where did that inspiring, that big breakthrough come, that first win, that special one?
It wasn't my first win in the States, but I remember one of my favorite first top wins was Rock Island Grand Prix. I think it was like late. I've been racing in the States for 5 or 6 years, and it was my first win at Rock Island Grand Prix. Back then it was huge, big numbers, 20, 30 in a class. And I got that first win there, and I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. I want to keep doing this. I actually got lucky. I won races the first couple years out in the States. Back then I was doing a lot of road racing, so like longer tracks, higher speeds. I actually won a championship, I think, in my first championship in 2005. So, pretty fortunate to do good off the bat out there, but like I said, you always want more when it comes to motorsports and winning, and you want to see how far you can go. And then it's like, all right, now let's go to a bigger race, a more pristine race. And that's always been the goal throughout the years, is to do the top level that karting has to offer in the US and do all those series. And I've been lucky enough throughout my career to have some cool races and get some good finishes.
So it was inspiring. That first one inspired,
Yeah,
lit that fire under you?
Definitely, in motorsports, you get that first win, it's like, all right, now how many can we do, And you have the confidence now, like I talked about earlier. Once you get that confidence, man, it's like, all right, I know I can do this. Getting that first victory is definitely key. And going back to like the motorboats that we were talking about earlier, the two teams that are racing out of Bermuda, man, I know, my mates Selly and Bridges representing well the last 2 years. They've had a few podiums, but I think they've been so close to getting that first win. And I think once they get that first win, it's going to unlock a bunch to come. You get that confidence, you can do it. Yeah. And then, it's no looking back from there. So getting that first win is definitely key.
We were fortunate to have them sitting right here in your spot.
Yeah, that win's coming. That win's
last
coming.
year.
Yep, that win's coming for them. Yeah. Like I said, once they get it, they're going to knock off a bunch of them. So yeah, it's just all about that confidence.
It's just good. It's just so wonderful to see all of our athletes, thriving, persevering in their respective sports. I'm loving it, because in my youth coming up, that just didn't happen. That was off the grid. I mean, we had Clyde Bass, and then a few others, footballers out there playing professionally, and Troy Darrell, Clarence Hill, but, today it's like, woof, it's just blowing up, it's just, and it's wonderful to see. And I always encourage all of our athletes, hey, take a chance, go for it. There's a bigger pool out there.
Definitely, and with motorsports, it's the field I'm in. It's always good to see motorsports going away and being represented. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of talent on the island when it comes to motorsports. And it's been unfortunate throughout the years. Motorsports hasn't been as well represented with the government of Bermuda throughout the years, but it's definitely gotten better over the years. More and more people going out there, and I'm always trying to encourage the karters here to go overseas and get the experience, man. Like you said, once you get out there and you see just more competition, different tracks, and you come back here and things get a little bit easier for you. So getting that experience is definitely key, and something that I love seeing other motorsports from Bermuda going out and representing.
And of course, it's more to it than the actual sport, you know, the camaraderie, you know, experiencing different cultures and meeting new friends, you know.
Yeah, I've made lifelong friends out there throughout the years, man. It's cool. Like friends that will be friends, you know, for my whole life. Making experiences with my team, and it's pretty cool.
How can I term this? What was one of the wildest experiences you've ever had at the track in a race?
Now you put me on the spot.
It's been that many?
I mean, I've been fortunate enough that I haven't had a lot of terrible crashes throughout the years, but I've had a couple. Man, I guess going back to the street racing, Rock Island Grand Prix, probably about 4 years ago, I went turn 2, probably doing 80 miles an hour, and got clipped from my inside and ended up going over on my head into the barriers pretty hard, and was unfortunate I didn't break anything or get knocked out or anything, but definitely a wild ride. And that was a Saturday practice, so I don't think I practiced the rest of the day. It was towards the end of the day. And then Sunday morning I was sitting in my pits getting ready to start the day. You know, I think I had 7 or 8 classes that day, and one of the corner workers came over and he's like, "Oh man, hey, you're the guy that flipped yesterday in my corner. I was working that corner." He's like, "Man, that's probably one of the gnarliest crashes I've ever seen in my life." I was like, "Thanks, man. Like, thanks for bringing that up. I got to go race right now." Like, you know, as a racer,
Right.
when that happens, when you crash or something bad happens, you got to get out of your head, right? It's on to the next one. So you never want to try to think about it. And he came over right before I'm getting ready to go out race and brought it back up. It's like, damn, now you got to clear your head again. But I've been lucky enough not to have too many major crashes, but anytime you have hard hits, it always takes a toll. But yeah.
So you've been fortunate not to have suffered any
Yeah,
serious.
knock on wood.
You beat me too. I was just going to do the same thing. You beat me too.
Never broken any bones or anything. I've had a few close calls, and I mean, I think one of my gnarliest crashes was here in Bermuda during the Good Friday push cart race a couple years ago, when I ended up getting flipped over in a push cart and went over the bank down in St. David's.
You did that, right?
Yeah, it was like 3 years ago. I was like 100 feet before the finish line. I was leading the race, and second place kind of clipped my back corner, and there was a break in the wooden fence, and I flipped upside down into the bushes by the water.
Wow.
And I almost killed myself in a push cart. So
Wow.
all these years racing like real carts, and I'm gonna get killed in a push cart. So
Wow.
that was pretty gnarly.
Wow, you've actually just given me a throwback, because we're talking about go-karts. You know, they race the Hermia go-karts down in St. Davis.
Yep.
And we used to do it up here, just around the corner, coming off Cox's Hill.
Yeah, I got asked to do it a few years back, man, and I did it, and it was fun. So I've done it, 4 or 5 times now, and I haven't won that race yet.
Is that one you want? Is that on the bucket list?
That's on the list. Thought I had it 2 years ago, and 100 feet from the start line, I almost end up dying. But no, that's always a fun week, a fun day.
All right, you hear that, 297 crew? Bonds is coming for you. Skitchy is coming for you.
I didn't do it last year, and the cart was
coming for that title.
The cart was totaled.
Oh, wow.
Another push cart. Anyone wants to give me a push cart for this next year's Good Friday?
Wow.
I'll be down.
Yeah, I was hoping to actually catch the race. I've just seen it online. Haven't been there personally, but I really wanted to go there this year, and unfortunately I couldn't make it.
Yeah, it's a fun day, man. Hundreds of people come out, and they asked me to come years back to actually drive my shifter cart down there before the push cart race and kind of like get everyone hyped up. I went down with the motor and did some donuts and stuff and get the crowd hyped up for the push cart. And then the next year I was like, I want to do this push cart race. So I got a cart and we did it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a fun day.
Sounds like you're an ambassador. Overseas competing, you're an ambassador for Bermuda, and then you're back here, you're an ambassador for the sport.
I try.
You're a celebrity. They bring you down God's country.
Yeah. It's different down there.
I was just thinking, there's carts again, because I was talking about the Briggs and Stratton, right? The engine, of course, we used to get the wheels off the mill machines to make go-karts. Yeah. Yep. So you go out the pool and hope that someone's throwing a mill machine out there, and you grab that and
that race is
put it all together.
That's a different day, but we'll see what happens this coming year.
Yeah, I remember when I was young boy, we used to watch go-kart racing up at the old Naval Annex. They used to over the base.
Yep.
Yep.
That's where it started back in the.
That's where it started.
Well, So karting in Bermuda started in '79. This next year is actually the 50th anniversary, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
And they started doing like BAA on the fields and stuff, like wherever they could find a race. Then they were up to Annex for a number of years. And then we were down St. David's. Got kicked out of there. Well, we lost the track there. I think we did one season back up at the Annex base. And then we were outside the parking lot track in St. David's. And then we got lucky enough for government, and I think it was '06. They gave us our track that we're on today. So a lot of history in the sport. 50 years in any sport in Bermuda is pretty big in my opinion. So kind of cool to have the anniversary coming up next year.
The one memory I have up there, I never forgot it. One of the competitors came off the track. I think they must have ran too hard in the corner and drifted right off. And it was a Volkswagen Beetle parked there, and they went pretty much under the Beetle.
Yeah, I've heard that story.
But they got up and walked away like nothing happened, which, was testament of the equipment, what I mean? And this was, like you said, in the 70s, right?
Karting's a lot safer nowadays. Still, it's motorsport, it's dangerous, but definitely a lot safer nowadays.
Well, I have a confession to make. I actually love karting. I did some karting over in Nottingham earlier this year. A family member rather, had a birthday party, and you can go to this facility where they have this indoor track, and you can race, and that was their wish for their birthday. They brought their friends, and we all ran on the track and raced. And we had a blast. Of course, not in the equipment that you're got. It has bumpers and all that, but they still go pretty fast.
Yep.
And if I was a racer, I'd be terrible at it, because I got so caught up in the moment. I was going so fast and enjoying it that the yellow flare came out, the caution flare came out, and I was so excited. I was passing people, not realizing they're slowing off with the caution flare. And next thing I know, I got pulled over. I got black flare, and that was my first warning. So if I got another one, I would have been disqualified. Yeah. But
keep your eyes open.
But I just got caught up in it, and I can see how you get hooked on it. I mean, it's a very exhilarating sport.
Definitely.
Yeah. What I liked also, when you're on the roads and when it's wet and or going in the corners too hard, you could slide out, go drift off course.
Yep.
But when it comes to racing, the equipment is different, the tires, the traction. And I found that you can actually go harder in the corners than you would normally do in your car or bike. You know what I mean?
I mean, the G-force in a real kart, quote unquote, real kart is like nothing other. It's, the closest thing to Formula One, But not to say you don't, have tracks and corners that you don't have the grip. So it's not always stuck to the ground, right? There's definitely times when your equipment's not working properly, or a track's more slick and you're sliding, you got to find that traction. So it's not always, stuck like glue. It's definitely getting your kart right and always changing to get that kart to stick how you want it to.
Yeah, you got to dial it in. To the conditions.
You said the more you race, your tires wear down. You have less rubber on the tires, so it's not always all glory. It can be a little sketchy too. And then when it rains, you're racing in the rain. Throw the rain tires on, and that's a whole nother factor, right? That's a whole different style of racing. It's always different, which is the thrill, right? It's not always the same, Even though the track may line out the same week to week, it's always different conditions. So it's always a challenge to find that speed.
Do you have any preference? Like, is there certain conditions you thrive in?
I like drier over the wet. Some guys love the wet. I've raced enough over the years in the wet. I'll do it. It's fine, but I prefer to be in the dry than the wet conditions for sure.
And then the courses, are they pretty much standard, or get shorter ones or longer ones?
Yeah,
more
I've been
corners,
lucky enough
it up a bit?
Over the years. I think I raced on over 35 different tracks around the USA. I've done sprint tracks. I've done parking lot tracks. Purpose-built go-kart tracks. Road race courses. I started road racing in the States, which is like long tracks, 2-3 miles, 2-3 minute lap times. I think I prefer that type of racing. It's just, you're doing 110 miles an hour, bumper to bumper, push, bump drafting with someone. It's a totally different driving style than like a sprint track, a smaller track. I think I prefer the road racing over the sprint racing. I've been lucky enough to do Daytona a couple times, and being on that track is awesome. I think we were doing like 2 minutes and 15 seconds, top speed 110 miles an hour, wide open for like 1 minute and 50 seconds. So, you know, I've done it all. But yeah, every track's different, but each has their own unique style to it.
So you prefer, you know, the road racing to
I think I prefer the road racing.
or the,
I like
what's the other one? The road racing?
sprint track racing, which is like a smaller track.
Okay.
You know, there's nothing like doing 100 miles plus and being bumper to bumper with someone and pushing someone and being pushed by someone. You know, down the straightaway. It's a cool feeling, and feeling the draft. You know, pulling up on a cart, doing 100 miles an hour, and you get sucked in from the draft. You don't typically get that on a smaller track, you know, because you're not going fast enough, long enough. But to feel that draft is a pretty cool feeling. It feels like you have so much more horsepower than the person in front of you because you're tucked into their wind draft, you know, coming off them. So that's a pretty cool feeling.
Actually, going back to the qualifying bit, when you're qualifying for a race, there is a different setup, is it, as opposed to what you will go on the actual race day?
Yeah, well, qualifyings are typically shorter, you know, 2 or 3 laps, 4 laps, depending on what series you're doing. So you need the cart to come in right away. So, you know, your tire pressures are going to be higher. You're going to set the cart up for like a short, you know, 2-3 lap time, whereas a race can be 20-25 laps. You want the cart to be good the whole time. So qualifying, you want that cart to be good for, you know, fast right out the bat, get that quick time, and then be done with. So yeah, you definitely need different setups for qualifying and racing.
And then what about fuel? Lighter, less fuel?
Yeah, you want to be, so in karting, you know, you have to weigh, cart and driver has to weigh a minimum weight for each class.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Every time you come off a race, you get directly onto a scale and you got to make a minimum weight, cart and driver, all of your equipment. So, you know, if you're half a pound short, it's a disqualification. So you need to know where you're at weight-wise, how much fuel you're going to burn throughout the race to make your mark at the end of the race. So that's definitely important.
That's the car weight.
Cart and driver.
And driver.
Yeah. So once you finish the race, you come in and you drive directly onto a scale.
Right.
You gotta make a minimum weight.
You can't go McDonald's.
So, I mean,
you can't go McDonald's the night before. you gotta when the bargain shake.
You gotta calculate how much you're gonna sweat, how much fuel you're gonna burn. You know.
Wow.
I won a race in the States, and then after the race, I did a victory lap. I did some victory donuts in the shifter, and got on the scale, and I was half a pound short. Half a pound. Disqualified.
No way.
Yep. You learn from that. Now I'm always at least 5 pounds over, right? So you have that weight to play with.
What that felt like?
It was not a fun feeling. Not a fun feeling. But you know, that's racing. It's so it happens sometimes, but you learn from it and never make that mistake again.
That's like scoring a goal and VAR. Someone was offside.
Yep.
That's a kick in the teeth.
Yep.
Oh wow! So what's the science behind it all? You know, when you get on the track, you know, you know, take us through a race. You're starting the race. You know, what's your first goal?
First goal is to finish the race, right? You can't win a race if you don't finish. So you got to be smart, you know, in your out laps. Staying calm is key, and I think that comes with experience and time. You know, when you don't have the experience, you know, it's easy to get in a cart and you're doing, you know, 80, 90 miles an hour, and you know, the adrenaline's running, the nerves are running, but when you can calm yourself down and slow your hands down, slow your mind down, I think that helps to improve your racing. And like I said, you can't win a race if you don't make the first lap. So first lap is always important. It's usually where everything happens because you got everyone fighting for turn 1, turn 2. So getting through that first couple laps and then settling in, knowing your lines, hitting your marks, and just staying calm is key. But yeah, those first couple laps are key. You know, you want to get out to the front, but you don't want to be too aggressive where you crash and your race is over, right? So, yeah, the start of the race are important. And then at the end, not getting tired, being fit enough that you're not going to fall off towards the last couple laps. I had a race this year in Daytona where it was a 25-lap feature race in a automatic cart, not a shifter cart, and I'm used to shifter cart racing, which is a little bit more physical. And I started, I think, 10th, and with 5 or 6 laps to go, I worked up to like 6, and I could see the top guys slowing down because they were getting tired. And I just, you know, I was in shape enough with the shifter cart racing that I didn't get tired. So I was able to work my way up and finish 3rd just because I had that fitness to keep going for that last 5 laps. So fitness is definitely key too.
Yeah, for many reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't imagine that you won the race and you get on the scale. Wow. I mean,
That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. So
man,
I
that's
definitely-
a harsh lesson there.
I learned from it, and it doesn't happen anymore.
That's a harsh lesson. So, what inspired you to be a karter in the first place?
I don't think there was any inspiration. It was just I got lucky, I guess. When I was 10, my dad got me a fun dirt go-kart to drive around the neighborhood, and he had a big yard back then, and I used to drive around the neighborhood with all my friends from the neighborhood and just having fun. And then when I was 11, the Bermuda Karting Club they had a break. I think they lost their track for a couple of years. This was late 90s. And the karting club started back up, and I was enjoying myself driving around the track, so we decided to go down there and try it out with my dirt cart. So I went down there for my first season and showed up with this, toy dirt go-kart with dirt tires and a little Briggs & Stratton motor. And, everyone else had their real karts. And, we went on track. And for the first half of the season, I raced that dirt cart, and I got lapped like every 2 laps. I was that much slower. But my parents wanted to make sure I was, into the sport before they spent all the money to get me a real kart. And I loved it from there. Next year I got my real kart, and the rest is history. Been doing it now for almost 30 years.
So was your dad involved in karting as well? Was he?
No. He was fisherman, nothing. No one in the family really was into racing.
Fisherman.
Yeah, I'm the fisherman. That's where we come from. But no racing in the family. Just I got lucky and fell in love with it, man. And fell in love with the adrenaline and just never stopped.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of money into it over the years, but I want to change it for the world, man. It's what I love.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you come from a fishing family?
Yep, definitely. 3 generations. I'm a captain for Kuna Matata Charters.
Oh, okay.
Fishing by trade. That's the day job.
So the big fee.
That's what pays for my racing.
Blue.
Yeah, that's what pays for the racing.
Wow.
Yeah, just something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fun job. Has its ups and downs like any other job, but it's allowed me throughout the years to be able to race so much.
Wow.
I did a couple years of powerboat racing and raced jet skis. I'd race anything, but karting is my passion.
How about the bikes?
No. I've driven motocross before in Florida with some friends, and I like my bones in one piece. And that sport, it's not about, if, it's when you're going to break bones. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'll stick to karting.
Oh, I want to get back to fishing because you got my attention. I'm a fisherman. I love fishing. So you're out there trolling and catching all the big boys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wahoo fishing, tuna fishing.
Tuna.
We do charter fishing for the last 10 years for Kuna Matata. Shout out to Kuna Matata. But yeah, I've been doing that for now 20 years since I was 20. So 20 years full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's the biggest fish you caught?
A couple big tunas, 120 pound tunas. Got some big tiger sharks back in the day when we could fish for those. Couple big marlins, nothing too big, couple 100 pounds. Yeah.
Well, they got these big tournaments now.
Yeah.
After that, the big billfish.
That's the big money game. That's not my game. That's for the big boys with the big monies. But we'll stick to the commercial and charters.
Okay.
Not the tournaments.
Okay. So you don't do the you don't do the reef fishing and stuff like that?
No, mostly offshore.
Offshore.
Yeah. Fish the banks most of the time, Argus and Challenger. Yep. Then we do inshore for like our lobster traps, lobster fisheries. So always gets you through the winter when you can't go fishing as much.
I had relatives on both sides of my family that were actually commercial fishermen. And so I kind of grew up a bit in that culture as well. And I still fish. I don't eat fish anymore, but I still love to fish.
Yes and no, man.
I still love to fish, and I enjoy it. I was out a couple of weeks ago, and school of Bonitas came by, and
Nice.
I grabbed a few of them, so I was happy. And
Yep. Yeah, my dad was fishing, still is a fisherman. My grandpa. So yeah, it's in the family. All my cousins are fishermen, so it's something that's in the family.
I never touched a rod, though. I'm not a rod guy. Can line. I'm old school, man.
More exciting, yep. More exciting.
Yeah, I had this bonita, man. It was a nice size bonita, man. He was pulling. I know 30-pound test.
There you go. Cut your fingers all up.
No, I know how to grip it. I learned the hard way. I know how to grip it. One of the fascinating things though about fishing on the banks, I've been to Challenger and Argus, and I remember on the depth finder, the captain of the boat used to always say, you could see the old Argus tower. The legs are still there, and they come up on the depth finder, right? So I thought that was fascinating, and actually my first experience with a whale, a humpback whale, was on the banks, and I'll never forget it because we were fishing, and someone came trolling, on our starboard side and ran off our transom some distance. And prior to then, you could hear them. They were singing. You could hear them, making that eerie song, and the captain explained what was going on, and then like that boat went by us and ran in the distance, and this humpback reached up and ran. And the funny thing was, everybody on the boat just ran aside.
Yeah, man, the whales, we see them every year, and every year they don't get old, man.
Yeah.
Seeing the whales is something, like I said, we see them every year.
Yeah.
Months at a time, but they don't get old. It's pretty cool to see them.
I love it. I watch them from the land.
Yeah.
I every year when they're making their migration.
Amazing creatures, and
I go
you get
on it.
a 30-foot whale just totally breach out of the water. It's pretty cool to see.
I want to get up closer to them. Yeah. Actually, I've seen.
Don't get too close though.
I think they're friendly. I think they know, man. I think they're cool.
Yeah, it's always cool to see them.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely a cool job, man. Every day is different, and I love being on the ocean. It's my other passion in life, just being on the ocean, driving. Nothing beats, drive an hour and a half out to the banks. I'd rather do that every day than sit in traffic on Front Street for 20 minutes. So
wow,
it has its perks.
I haven't been on the banks for some time. Refresh my memory. Which one is the farthest? Is it Argus?
Argus is the furthest.
It's the farthest, and that is like what? How many miles is that?
Challenger, the closest point to Challenger is 10 miles, and the furthest point we'll fish on Argus probably like 25 miles.
25.
Yeah.
I thought it was farther.
So not a bad run. No, go out to like North Carolina, those guys got to run like 70, 80 miles to go fishing. So we're pretty lucky here.
Wow.
We're lucky here.
I see those boats, going back to those big boats when they come in, they're moving. I mean, it's a spectacle just watching them go out, come in and go out,
Burning a lot of fuel.
I'm telling you, man. I'm like, what are they running on?
Dollar bills.
I'm sure.
Lots of money.
Actually, that's one question I overlooked going back. Do you guys run the same fuel in your go-karts as?
No, we run racing fuel.
Racing fuel.
Yeah, so more higher octane. The 206 class, the Briggs and Stratton will run straight fuel, like you get out of the pump here. But the shifter class is strictly race fuel.
Wow.
More expensive, higher octane.
Yeah.
So instead of paying
highly flammable, is it?
Yeah. But highly expensive too.
Yeah.
Yeah, $20-$30 a gallon. So
wow.
Expensive sport. That's why we got to thank the sponsors. Got to keep the sponsors happy.
Yes. Motorsport is expensive.
Definitely.
And also, fishing, you do fishing, you're kart racer, any other sports? I believe you do a bit of snooker, is it?
Yeah, I played snooker my whole life. I played softball. I've always played softball.
Softball?
Yeah. I played pool over the years, basketball in high school. But nowadays just softball, snooker. But karting's always been my number one.
No football?
I played football when I was a teenager for a couple of years.
Who you played for?
I played for Dandytown.
Dandytown?
For like 2 years.
Where you from? You from Bermuda?
Spanish Point.
Spanish Point?
Born and raised.
Okay.
But no, I never got into that. Too heavy.
So what position you played for Dandytown?
I can't remember. 13, 14, 15.
You can't remember your coach?
No. It was like 2 years, and it was a short stint.
Okay.
My friends from Point Mart got me into it, Sean De Silva, and yeah, it was short lived.
It was short lived.
Back to racing.
But your snooker, you've enjoyed some success. Because I see your name with the
I've
the results.
Playing snooker young. I started playing
with Warwick, right? Is it Warwick?
The last 4 years I've been with Warwick Workman's Club. Before that, I was always with Spanish One Boat Club. Started playing that young, 16, and been pretty good throughout the years. It's a cool game. It's a thinking game, strategy, a lot of strategy. It's a gentleman's game. It's something cool. It's a lot slower than like pool or something, but yeah.
They had a big event.
Always goes back to racing. That's always been where the passion lies.
Definitely. But that keeps you going. It keeps the mind sharp as well.
It's always fun to have other sports and other things keep you busy.
Right. What's some of your most fondest or cherished moments as a coming up as a junior? Any particular moment, junior career, racing career that stands out?
I mean, as a junior, no. I think some of my highlights have been my older years, the last couple of years. I haven't been racing full time in Bermuda the last 2 years. I've kind of taken a step back from the Bermuda scene to spend my money and my time racing in the States. But I've done some coaching the last couple of years with some junior drivers. I was lucky enough to be president of the karting club for 8 years.
Okay.
So I think that's something that I cherish is seeing the younger generation come up through the ranks in karting. Some of our top drivers in Bermuda now started racing karting when they were like 7, 8 years. So to see them develop throughout the years has been pretty cool. In any sport, you're nothing without your youth, right? The next generation.
Yes.
So when I was president, that was always one of our biggest focuses is to make sure the youth had a good program so that we can get more people into the sport. And it's been cool to see the younger kids grow up. Makes you feel old when you see them now. They're like, 20, 22 racing, and they were seven, like seemed like 2 weeks ago. But no, it's been cool to watch some of our drivers grow up and get better and go through the little cadet karts, and now they're shifter kart racing at the highest level. So that's been pretty cool to see.
I know exactly what you're saying, because I'm experiencing now, as a sports journalist, I've out there in the field and I see athletes that I recall coming into the sport as youngsters, and now they've evolved into man. Yep. And they've now got family and children. And in some instances, I'm now covering their children. There's youngsters have grown up and moved on, and I'm now covering their children. I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
that means I'm a little further down the track.
It ages you, and you don't feel like you've aged, but you see them grow, and it's like, all right, time definitely flies. But no, it's definitely cool to see, man, and it's cool with the karting club here in Bermuda. Like I said, 50 years next year, to see that it's still a thriving club and it's still growing to this day. It's pretty cool.
Actually, going back, I did do that. I don't know if you were involved then, but some years ago they did the street race, the Hamilton street race. Yep. And they had an exhibition race with I don't know what they call those cars, but they were for the novices like me. And it was awesome, and I got to race, and Gennaro Taka, Mr. Cup Match, he raced, and we had a good hook.
I think that was Dakar, wasn't it?
No, this one was in Hamilton.
Yeah, okay. So I was actually president for the last 4 street races, 3 in Dakar and 1 5 street races. One in we went back to Front Street, I think in 2014, 15. We went back to Front Street. And then our last one was in Court Street 2 years ago. So I was been lucky enough to be president throughout those street races. And like I said, we've done a couple of fun exhibitions with I remember Gennaro racing, and I can't remember who else raced, but it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And the street races are always big in Bermuda, man. The spectators come out by the thousands. So it's always cool to do the street races.
Yes, it was awesome.
Hopefully we'll have another one here soon.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Always
a crowd winning event.
Yeah, the Powerboat Association, they also had a race, a celebrity race, and I was invited, but unfortunately I was out in the field covering cricket for the press that day, and I couldn't be involved, but I would have loved to have done that. That's a whole different field too.
It's cool to get people that aren't racers into a kart and experience that, and they always come out and like, man, this is awesome. I didn't know it was like this, and those are a lot slower than the real ones, so it's always cool to get new people, and whenever you do the street races, man, it's always cool to see the crowd come out, and so many people are like, I never knew this was in Bermuda, right? And I was like, yeah, we race 8 months out of a year down at Clearwater, but a lot of people don't get down there. They don't know what's going on. So when we do the street races, it opens eyes to so many more people that see it for the first time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our racers today started karting because of the street race. You know, they saw the street race and they wanted to get involved. So
Wow.
yeah, hopefully another one's coming soon.
Yeah, that'd be nice, and maybe they could even put more on the annual calendar.
Definitely. Yeah, it's something that I know I was pushing when I was president to make it a yearly event. So hopefully, you know, it takes a lot of work, a lot of money. So a lot of sponsors is key for a race like that. So yeah, we'll see what's in the works for next year.
But I remember the sport, like I said, going back to my youth up at the base, you know, U.S. Naval Annex, you know, they had big turnouts for that sport, and it was a big deal. You know, good karting racing was a big deal, and you know, and powerboat racing at that time, and motocross. Our motorsports were really thriving, and then it just seemed to have dipped off. But you know, I think the pulse is still going.
Yeah, I think you know, with any sport, I think there's waves, there's ups and downs, and you'll have racers come and go. But I think for the most part, motorsports in Bermuda has always been strong. But like you said, having the one-off events like powerboats, you don't get many spectators on an average race day down at Ferry Reach, but around the island, everyone comes out for it, right? You know, motocross, they have a good weekly spectator crowd, but then they'll do like their exhibition or their race on Boxing Day or whatever, and they have a huge crowd. Karting club, same way. On an average race day, we don't get a lot of spectators, but do a street race, we get thousands of people that come out. So I think having those events is pretty good for motorsports in Bermuda. Something that I think needs to continue on a yearly basis. So, like I said, hopefully another one's in the works soon.
And then they had the motocross event at Coney Island, that one-off event, and I mean, that was amazing. Did you get down there?
Watching always loved watching motocross.
Yeah,
I grew up, you know, watching Coney Island. So to see that go back down there, that was pretty cool. I know huge crowds came out for that. But yeah, Bermudians love motorsports, man. Always have. I think they always will. So it's cool to see, you know, thank you to people like you that cover motorsport racers. And, you know, I've been lucky enough throughout my career that I've made good relationships with the Royal Gazette, back in the day, Bermuda Sun, that cover my international racing.
Yes.
Shout out to them.
I think Jeff Burton? I think Jeff used to do a lot of, was it Jeff?
Jeff Burton.
And James Whitaker?
Don Burgess. Jim Whitaker,
Yeah.
So shout out to them for covering, you know, every time I go away, they always hit me up for a piece in the paper, and it's cool to see that, you know, motorsports is big on this island, and we represent well on an international stage as well. You know, I know in Bermuda, football and cricket are the two biggest sports, but, you know, there's a lot of talent on this island, and a lot of talent that goes away and represents well overseas. So it's always cool to see it getting its due.
Yeah, I always thought, you know, given our passion for motorsports, I always thought you would see even more numbers, you know, taking up karting.
Yeah, it's an expensive sport, right? Motorsports is expensive. You know, it's a lot cheaper to kick a ball and hit a cricket bat, but motorsports is expensive. So unfortunately, it's not for everyone. Sponsors play a key role in it. You know, a lot of people, I'm sure, want to do it and want to get into it, but just can't afford it. So that's the down part about it. But, you know, if you can get into it, it's an awesome sport, and it's a family sport, right? It's a sport that everyone can get involved with, right? Because while you're in the cart by yourself, you need a mechanic, you need someone to help you push the cart, lift the cart, right? So it's something that you can get your whole family into, and that's the good thing about the kids too, right? A lot of kids get involved, and then their dads want to race, so you get another racer.
Push them out of the way, let me get in that car.
If you can get the kids involved, you know, more than likely their dads want to get involved after a couple of years. So yeah, that's key.
Wow. Do you have any kids?
No. I just got married last year, and we're working on it. Trying
all right.
One, so hopefully we'll see. Cross our fingers. We'll see if that happens soon. But
well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the best. And when you do, if you do have some youngsters, and maybe, you know, who knows, you know, we can see the legacy continue. The next chapter.
Definitely have a go-kart bought for them, whether they like it or not. Well, you know, that's up to them, but they'll definitely have the opportunity.
Cool. Well, they certainly don't have to look far for advice.
I thought my nephew got into it for a couple of years, and he was doing good. I think he got into it when he was like 7 or 8. But now he's like 6'3" and plays basketball. Just went to high school or college. So yeah, that was short lived, but it was fun to have him in it for a couple of years.
Wow, wow. Actually, you talked about the cost of competing, and that's a very valid point, because it is expensive, and I do think that is certainly impacting on our motorsports. Like you said, it's, not everyone can afford it.
Yep.
And that's right across the board: powerboating,
Yep.
motocross.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And like I said, sponsors are key. So again, like thank you to my sponsors here locally, Butterfield and Vallis, represent their Power8 brand, and All Rise Limited have been with me for the last couple of years. So it's huge to have your sponsors, and for me, it's huge to have them on board because I'm not racing in Bermuda the last couple of years. So their companies don't mean much in the States, but to still have them come on board and sponsor me is pretty cool. So I've been lucky enough throughout my career to have some pretty good sponsors, and it helps tremendously for sure.
And is it profitable? Racing, is it big payout?
I mean, not really. To me, I mean, my last race in Rock Island, I won like $1,200, but by the time you get your fuel and tires and travel and everything, you spent way more than that. So it's just a hobby now. It's not something I do for the money. Maybe back when you're 17, 18 and you're trying to make a career out of it, depending on how far you can go, you can make a career out of it. But you're definitely not doing it for the money. Doing it for the checker flag and the pride.
And the love, the passion.
For sure.
So you said you're going to Vegas. That's your next one.
2 weeks. Yep.
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yep.
All right. Have you been there before? It's your first
Yeah,
time?
this is a race this is my 13th time racing this event. This is like the Super Bowl of racing in the U.S. It's the biggest, probably one of the biggest racing in karting in the world. Like I said, there were 40 countries represented, huge fields.
Wow.
It's a whole week, starts Wednesday, goes to Sunday, a lot of seat time, and just the best of the best competition-wise. So I've been lucky enough to do it, I think, 13 times throughout my career.
Okay.
Been on the podium 3 times, which is super hard at an event like this.
All right. So expectations will be high. You're already been there to get to the top.
We're always going to.
You won it? You've been on the podium?
This is the one race on my career that I haven't won.
Okay.
That is on the bucket list. I got to check one off this year.
We're going to knock over.
I got to check one of my 2 that
It's going to be your year. Claim it.
Yeah, we'll see, because there's a lot of fast guys, but definitely go in there with the confidence. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But we'll give it everything we have. But it's super hard. You got to have not only the speed in this race, you got to have the luck, right? Because there's a lot of racing. One little mistake in a heat race can set you back for the starting position in the final. Because how this event works is you have 3 heat races, and you collect points for all 3 heat races, and that sets you for the final. So you have one bad race, you lose positions for the final. It could throw your whole week off. So
okay, no discard, like saying no throw out.
Nope. So you gotta be on your A game the whole week. Every time on track, and it's a hard track, always real tight, a lot of barriers. So a lot of things that can go wrong, and say the best of the best when competition wise. So this is a big race.
And you said over 40 countries.
Yeah.
So which other countries race?
Everywhere, man.
Cars everywhere.
All from Europe, and the Europeans don't mess around, man. I've been lucky enough to go to race in Italy once back in 2018 with some other Bermuda racers, and the Europeans, when it comes to karting, are on the next level. A lot more aggressive driving styles. So not only you got the best of best in the U.S., but from all around the world. Last year, I think there was 3 of us that represented from Bermuda. I'm not sure if anyone else is going this year. But yeah, competition-wise, it's the best when it comes to karting.
So what would be considered the mecca of this sport? Which country? Where did it originate? Karting.
European. Yeah, it's huge in Europe. Italy is where most of the karts are made. So Italy's a big place for karting. That's where all the worlds are. It's over mostly in Italy and places like that. Like I said, I've only been able to race in Italy once, but it was awesome. Hopefully I get a chance to go again. But yeah, European racing is huge.
Now, your competitors are coming from countries, millions of drivers,
Yep.
and you're coming from tiny Bermuda.
Yeah.
Are your competitors rare?
Yeah, that's what I said. I've been lucky enough to make a name for myself in the U.S., where like when I go to these races, people know who I am. I'm not showing up and just being another racer. I've been doing this in the States, like I said, for over 20 years. So I've won enough and represented enough that I've been lucky enough to make a name for myself. And that's key, like I said, with confidence in racing. Once you have that confidence, it helps you out tremendously. But it's always cool to see the Bermuda flag flying at that event with all the other country flags coming from a small island. Always something that I'm proud of.
And do they have the national anthems when you get on the podium?
Yeah, they do. They do the U.S. national anthem, and that's it. Yeah.
You get up there with your pink shirt and your Bermuda shorts.
Yeah. All 3 times that I've been on the podium, I've definitely worn the Bermuda flag and represented. But yeah, no pink.
Well, hey man, it's awesome. You know, the legacy that you've created thus far, and the journey continues.
Yep.
And I just want to wish you all the best.
Appreciate it.
First of all, I want to congratulate you on your success to date.
Thank you.
And wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Yep. I always said, as long as I'm able
Pray for your safety.
as long as I'm able to get in the kart, it's something I always want to keep doing. So hopefully, many more years to come. I think it'll definitely slow down in a couple of years, but as long as I'm able to walk and drive, I think I'll still be on a kart.
You got a long time in there, man.
Hope so.
Car drivers, they go on long.
Sure.
They have longevity, man.
Yeah, but you gotta.
And you got 50 plus in there. What's the oldest driver?
Oh man, I've seen racers into their 70s.
70s?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't going that far.
It's say a lot of 60s, and but I've definitely seen a couple racers in their 70s.
Oh wow, there you go.
Here in Bermuda, there's been a couple guys throughout the years in their 60s.
There you go. You got 30 more years, 3 more decades.
I hope so.
You're a baby in this, man. And before we go, any advice you want to give to any up and coming youngster?
If you was something you love and you're passionate about, don't let anything stop you. Go out there and give it everything you have. Like I said, I think there's a lot of talented motorsports racers on this island. So go overseas, get the experience. I think that's key is going overseas and seeing whether it's karting or motorbikes or motocross bikes. Going overseas and seeing what else is out there is key. So if you can do that, you have the opportunity. Get off the island and go experience it and just have fun with it. It's always about having fun, right? If you're not having fun, then it's not something you should be doing. So definitely don't forget to have fun. And anytime you're lucky enough to get sponsors, make sure you represent them well and are positive with your sponsors, because that helps big time.
Yeah, represent the flag. Represent.
Always represent Bermuda. That's where you're from, and that's something I always fly in my tent. Is my Bermuda flag's always flying. And it's always cool to represent this small island.
Great stuff, man.
Appreciate you, Carl.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, man. And thanks again for
Thanks again
stopping
to the
by.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Like I said, without them, it makes it definitely harder.
Good stuff. Well, we're going to be looking out for your results from Vegas. And we hope you hit the jackpot. Well, folks, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition. But before I go, I would like to say a special thank you, a special shout out to our co-producers, to our sponsors, and last but not least, a special shout out to you, the viewing public. And as always, I look forward to seeing you right here on Up Close with yours truly, Colin Thompson. Peace.
This episode of Up Close with Colin Thompson has been brought to you by Lindo's Group of Companies. Thanks for watching.